Hi, this is Michael Bryan. I'm Senior Editor with Multichannel Merchant, and just wanted to talk a little bit about the launch of Apple iOS 8.1, especially the inclusion of Apple Pay, which is the most significant part of it. But we want to talk a little bit today about what's the impact of it. Will it be significant? Will it change the payment landscape, or will it be just another Google Wallet? And we're speaking today with John Gassau, who's Director of Product Management at ACI Worldwide, an e-banking and payment system company that works with major retailers and banks. Hi, John. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks you. Thank you. How are you?
Good, thanks. Okay, so the first question we have is Apple ultimately betting too much on the strength of its brand with the launch of Apple Pay?
You know, I've long contended that that was the big mistake that Google made when they launched their wallet. They figured that just on the strength of their brand, they would get everybody flocking to download the Google Wallet app, sign up, load their cards, go off, go shopping, go wild. And of course, history has shown otherwise. I think Apple's been a bit more circumspect. I think they've done a number of things that have proved that they've learnt something from the mistakes of Google and perhaps others as well. For example, I think they focused a lot on the user experience. I think they have been playing nice when it comes to the card associations, the issuers, the retailers, trying to make sure that they get that level of buy-in and support right from day one. But I think they're standing on a knife's edge. I think they need to be very careful that they continue to make sure that they don't set themselves up as enemy number one.
Okay, great. Do you think this is the first step in a carefully crafted strategy on Apple's part to change the infrastructure of payments forever?
Yeah, I think that's a question that's on a lot of people's minds. There's one fact that makes me think that it is, and that is that if you calculate how much money they make in one quarter selling phones, iPhones, iPads, iMacs, etc., and compare that to how much money they would make, given that we understand a little bit now of the financial model and the arrangements with the issuers and with the retailers, I think there must be something more behind this, because the payment space for Apple is going to be very small unless there's something bigger behind their plan.
Okay, and we were talking a little bit about Google before, and what do you think that Apple can learn from Google's mobile wallet rollout?
Yeah, so there are a number of things. I think one of Google's big failings initially was that they relied on a technology that was early. We've all heard about NFC and tap to pay. That was really early bleeding technology, a couple of years back. I think Apple's already taken a more cautionary approach, waiting for that technology to mature a little bit before rolling out Apple Pay. So I think they've already learned that. They also have made sure that they're not dependent on the carriers and on the phone manufacturers, except for themselves, of course. So I think they've done a good job of that, and I think they've worked on the user experience. My research has led me to understand that they're really spending a lot of effort into training the merchants how to accept payments. I heard a wonderful story from a colleague of mine the other day who said that he was at a store location and everybody was asking, can I pay? This was before the launch. Can I pay with my iPhone 6? Can I pay? And there was a lot of interest, but there wasn't yet that understanding amongst the cashiers as to whether they could accept Apple Pay payments. I think Apple's been doing quite a bit of work behind the scenes to do the prep work, which perhaps wasn't so much on Google's agenda. But I think the big question for me is, are they going to add that extra value that the retailers are going to want to see in a wallet, rather than handing off the payment to something that they don't have any control over? They have no way of learning more information about the customer, of being able to reach out to that customer with extra offers or rewards, or try to entice them to come and shop more at their store. I think Apple's going to need to take another big step sooner rather than later to make sure that there's something really in it for the retailers.
Okay, you talked a little bit about people coming up and asking, can I use my iPhone for payments? So talk a little bit about how you see demand shaping up for that and going forward. And related to that, how about the issue of security and how they're going to address, how Apple's going to address the concern over security in mobile payments?
Okay, sure. Let me deal with the issue of uptake first, and we'll talk about security in a moment. I think we mustn't forget that the iPhone 6 has only just been released, and you have to have an iPhone 6 to make an Apple Pay payment, right? The only other option is an iPhone 5 with an Apple Watch, which we know is not available yet. So there are very few people, of course, that have one of these devices yet. And secondly, I think there's going to be, only a small percentage of the user base that's going to trust in it at first. There's going to be people watching to see how it goes. So I think it's going to be the techno geeks, the people that follow the payment space, the people that like this kind of thing that are going to go and try it out a couple of times. So there'll be, we've already seen lots of activity going on today, right? And I'm sure that'll continue for a while. I guess to understand how much legs that's going to have, how long is it going to continue, and is it going to continue growing, is it going to reach critical mass, will also depend on how long it takes, how well the iPhone 6 sales go, and how long it takes for people to start feeling comfortable with this new method of payment. But I think at least Apple there is trying to make it as simple and as friction-free to make the payment, and embarrassment-free. I think a lot of people are worried they might stand in that checkout trying to make the payment and then suddenly it doesn't work for some reason. I think in terms of, so I think it's going to be slow. I think it's going to be an initial rush, and then I think it's going to slow off quite a bit, and then gradually as the iPhone sales pick up, it's going to pick up and get more and more traction. I think as far as security is concerned, people are scared of mobile phones when it comes to security. There's been a lot of press around lots of different types of fraud and phishing and all these terrible things. But in reality, the mobile phone is so much more secure than a plastic card, especially a magnetic stripe card, which everybody in the US is used to, right? So I think once consumers start to understand that the mobile phone and Apple Pay brings not only an equivalent or better experience, but also greater security, I think that's going to do a lot to help see that uptick in adoption.
Okay, terrific. Well, John, thanks very much for your time and giving us the insights on Apple's new launch. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks very much.
Okay, bye.